Hello, I am Quinny. Welcome to the channel. In this video today, guys, we're going to be talking about market strategy with the latest developments in the ETH kind of bear market that we're in at the moment. I hope you enjoy the video. Don't forget, like, subscribe, share, and retweet and all that good stuff, guys. And let's get stuck into it. You know, it's kind of lost on me sometimes because we do live streams so often, there's Q&As, and I've made so much content for the last 2 years that there's plenty of people out there that, of course, don't know the full catalogue of, content that we've been putting out for the last 2 years, but they're looking for, what's going on there now? What should I be aware of in the market? What does this bear run thing, what does it actually mean for me and my wallet and my club? What are the impacts? What are the implications? What happened last time? What things should I look out for? In this video, I'll be kind of touching on all of that. We'll start off explaining just what is going on, what market paradigms you do need to be aware of as you kind of go forward now with trades and buys and that sort of thing. As well as just really understanding SoRare's relationship to ETH, because I think that's very important. It's a really hard thing to really nail down, but I will talk on that today. Then I'll explain just some tried and tested strategies for this kind of situation and just highlight some important things for you to consider. And then I'll talk about last time all this stuff happened, personally, what I did, where was my club at, what were my goals and aspirations, how did I move appropriately, and has it paid off, has it worked out or not? Don't forget, guys, in the description there is a link for up to 65% off fanatics.com for any football shirts, jumpers, hoodies, whatever it is you're looking to get. If you are going to be buying something, using that link directly supports the channel, and I thank you very much if you do so. I hope you enjoy the video. So a bear market is when a stock, or in this case a crypto, is getting a massive sell-off and the price is taking an absolute tank. And as you can see at the moment of point recording we're at, in Great British Pounds, 1660 for one Ethereum, which is around half of what it was around a month ago or so. So that is quite the bear market indeed. Now, the other bear market that you might think at some stage may or could have some sort of impact or influence on SoRare would be like the NFT market itself. Now, I want to just kind of address this and move it to one side quite quickly. Now, SoRare, as much as it exploits the NFT technology to great precision in terms of giving fans connection and utility with officially licensed sport cards and a digital fantasy football that they can play with people all around the world, with players from all around the world. It's not an NFT platform. It's not like apes. It's not like punks. It's not like kitties. It wasn't just made up because of NFT technology. Fantasy football was around before NFT technology. So was sports cards. So was trading cards. So was football. So, I don't think the two are really that tightly correlated or that really, much of a link between the two of them. So that's one thing I'll just say at this point. Now, there's three types of ETH in SoRare. There's old ETH that's been around for a while, like me, kinda. You've then got expensive ETH, and this is people that have probably picked up ETH certainly within the last 3 months. It sat in a wallet somewhere, and obviously the price of ETH, as we've just seen, is in a bear market, and now it's going down. And then we've got today's ETH. Now, all three of those ETHs have completely different valuations. They belong to totally different people with totally different goals, with totally different aspirations, and totally different valuations and methods of valuations on cards, okay? So as much as we're going to talk about a lot of different opportunities that might be arising and dangers you potentially want to be avoiding as well, it is important that you understand exactly what kind of ETH are you operating with. Are you operating with today's ETH? If that's the case, and you're actually pretty flexible with some of these opportunities that may arise and whatnot. If you're playing around with expensive ETH, so you've been maybe slowly building up a stash of ETH, maybe through churning rewards and wins and thresholds, or just through gradual, slow methodical deposits, then the clock is you will feel a bit of time pressure on you because you now have an asset that was worth something as you're accruing it, and that asset is now depreciating in value. If your outset wasn't to get the ETH for having ETH, then you will feel some sort of trading pressure. And again, we'll talk about using expensive ETH as best you possibly can. And I say old ETH, so if it's a gallery, it's up and running, and you're pulling cards, selling cards, you're kind of you're maneuvering in the market, then the way you can attack this kind of situation will be totally different as well. So it's important that as we go through the video, you keep in mind kind of what section you can see yourself in, or what section you're trying to maybe move yourself into potentially. In the immediate term, what you're going to find is going to happen is people that have got money already in their SoRare wallet, maybe they've been saving up a coin, half a coin, bits and pieces from thresholds, whatever. Now, unfortunately, the power of your wallet is shrunk. Now what can happen first and foremost is you want to panic and maybe move into something too quickly. The main thing to always keep in the front of your mind when that is the situation, you've got a wallet of any value, right? ETH is going from, let's say, 2,500 all the way back down to 1,500, pretty much where it's at now. Throughout that time, as your value's cascading, it's important that you're looking after your funds first and foremost. So if the ETH itself, or you can't get yourself into a card that you were going to buy anyway, it was part of your strategy, was one of your targets already, then that amount of money coming off your balance sheet, if you like, is bad for business. So the first thing you have to be doing in those situations is already know what your strategy is going to be. Now, it's extremely natural if you've got money in your SoRare wallet as this bear market is emerging and becoming even more powerful. You know, you've maybe been saving up a wallet, you've stashed up like £1,000, and all of a sudden it's slid back in value. The Ethereum stays stagnant, but that pound's value is sliding back. It is very natural to feel that pressure kind of come upon you that you need to take action, you need to do something now. And that is justified, and it's definitely a smart move. But where the mistakes can come in, or where the poor decision making can come in, is when you've not got a plan laid out ahead for it. So what I've always done in these situations before is when like I've had like a wallet balance, you do see ETH tumbling. If I do have a list of 3 or 4 people and I'm desperate to reinforce in a certain position, then before the secondary market has an opportunity to correct, I will just go in and get that card in now before the ETH I've got tumbles in value and before the card value in ETH moves up and then moves away from me, because that correction does absolutely nothing for me. I miss the boat, I miss the ship in that instance. Now, if you're shaping up with your SoRare balance to be doing a withdrawal, again, it's one of these things you need to be fully mindful of the situation with Ethereum. Now, me personally, I'm not a big crypto, I'm not a big Ethereum guy, so I try my best not to let these movements really change what I'm doing in terms of my goals. Am I going for a division? Am I looking to expand? Am I looking to sell down? Am I looking to get a new scarcity in? Whatever it is that's going on, I try my best to stay neutral to the movements at ETH and do my best to just make sure I'm always improving and I'm always moving the club forward. I think when you focus on things that you are in control of, it becomes a lot easier and you can be a lot clearer in your decision making when things you're not in control of start to change around you quite violently. You know, it's quite the swing we've had over the last month. It really is. Especially newer players, if your main buying strategy is auctions via card, or you deposit ETH through ramp and straight away use that ETH to go and buy a card from the secondary market or complete a trade you've negotiated on Discord, that kind of thing, then this is actually a great situation when ETH does move back so far, because the market does take time to correct. So as much as like ETH and fiat, the marriage between those things and the relationship SoRare has between ETH and fiat as well when it comes to the marketplace is not an exact science. No one can really pin it on a graph and say it's a direct correlation or it's only half correlated or, you know, whatever. There is a correlation that is undeniable, but what influences it on the marketplace is what I was talking about at the beginning of the video. There's 3 types of ETH. Old ETH. And where does old ETH really live? Old ETH really lives in the more expensive, the more premium cards, your tier 0 rares, your high-end super rares, your uniques, that kind of thing. Expensive ETH is most of us, you know, who have been playing the game for probably the last year. There's a good chance you're going to have a lot of expensive ETH on your table. And the people that have today's ETH are probably relatively new players. So again, the fiat opportunity coming into the market, you're going to be limited to what areas of the market you can exploit with that, you know, because not everyone has the same way of valuing, not everyone has the same way of negotiating, and not everyone has the same objectives for the next 2 or 3 months, because when the bear market kicks in, a lot of people change their objectives drastically, and it's mainly down to not having a plan in the first place. But you might be sitting tight and you think, right, okay, I've got like 1 team up, 2 teams up, my gallery's valued this, something like this happens, you've never experienced it before, and your objectives quickly change and quickly turn around. People with expensive ETH and people with old ETH, those quick changes don't tend to have such a handbrake turn effect on the strategy. It is more people that are living more in today's ETH, because if you're buying ETH like yesterday and it's 1800 and then today it's 1600, if you are just playing with immediate deposits to buys, then even that volatility will make it quite murky, you know, in terms of the waters you're going to navigate. But one thing I've always found to have a good opportunity with myself is when I was buying into the market with fiat back when ETH was on, you know, kind of pre-boom or whatever, but even in a bear market, the same sort of thing applies. When ETH is cheaper than it's perceived to be by the market, if that makes sense, it gives you the opportunity to maybe stash up on a wallet that might become more powerful. If you know more about Ethereum than I do, or if you really study Ethereum, or you're really digging into what's going on with the price movement and whatever, and you believe it can come back and it can go up, then the now can be a great time to maybe stock in a bit of ETH that you would have afforded to buy and you would have bought anyway for future trades and future transactions 3 months from now, 6 months from now, whatever your plan is, whatever your theory is, whatever the strategy is you're trying to lay out. against that ETH movement, that ETH appreciation, if you believe that's coming. I'll say at this point, guys, using the past to predict the future is a terrible strategy. It always is, okay? But using your previous experience, your own previous experience if you have it, and if not, I'm sharing mine, maybe it can be of some use to you, can help you avoid some easy mistakes and some things that you might go on to, oh, I wish I'd sold more back then, or I wish I'd bought more back then, that kind of thing. Throughout this time, guys, as any sort of bear market is kicking off in SoRare or in Ethereum or any of these types of things, even other things you might be involved in outside of this, it's always important to understand and really take note and try and study your time in the market, the decisions you make, the thought process that goes into them, what things have motivated you for better or for worse, because time in the market is always better than trying to time the market. You know, if you're always trying to buy things at the absolute bottom and sell them at the absolute high, then, you know, that is a very difficult thing to do, and not many people do, to be honest with you. Like I've kind of said already previously, and it's something I always advocate, consistent actions breed consistent results. You know, throughout this turbulent change in time, if you have a laid out strategy that can now benefit as a result of these changing tides while the market is correcting, then my experience has always been good with doing that, you know. But equally, that strategy works both ways. It's not just about spending money, but it's also about taking money out and putting it in your pocket. If you're planning on doing a withdrawal and you're kind of hesitating and thinking, oh, well, it's not worth quite as much money now, then you've really got two options. You either sit on ETH and pray to God it goes back up, and that, you know, your prayers better be good, because who knows what's going to happen with it. Or you sell more cards to get more ETH to get you back to the same fiat level you're at. Unfortunately, they're just the only two things. But if your plan was to withdraw, I still would not deviate from that. Consistent actions, consistent results. You've got to make sure that even if you make a mistake or you don't optimize it on one occasion, having that consistent train of thought, that consistent decision making means that when the time does come, you will nail it, because these things are all just about repetition and learning from your mistakes. Now, the last time I would say Ethereum was in any sort of real bear market was really after May through to, like, you know, really end of July, that kind of 6-week period there, where ETH was just kind of going back from previously broken all-time highs and shooting down and break Great British Pounds 3,000, and then going through a period from, let's say, end of May, so 1st of June, 1,800, sliding all the way down to a end of January low of like 1,300, something like that. There was a real big bear market situation. Now, for me personally, I ended up at that point in time, I was already setting a strategy. I was already decided of exactly what I was going to be doing and how I was going to be attacking the market. My goals at that point was to really stock up and get really heavy on super rares and really try and take my club to the next level. So if you've been knocking about with limiteds, you're still getting your feet wet, you're still dipping your toe in the water, maybe now is an opportunity for you to start getting some rares that previously you were thinking, this is like a year away from me, I'm never going to be able to afford a rare. Maybe now you can, because in this situation, I was like, you know, super rares, there's no chance I'm going to be able to get that many of them, maybe a couple. But throughout this time period, I managed to get a lot, because while this bear market thing is happening, people in all the situations I've already explained to you are going to be hesitant. They're going to think twice before making purchases. They're going to think 3 times before selling something. And when a lot of people are in the realm of indecision, if I've got clear decision and I can execute something that is full of opportunity, full of joy, and full of good value for money, then I'm always going to just attack it and go for it. And through this time period, through a lot of indecision, I suppose, in the marketplace, I managed to ramp up a lot of super rares. Good goalkeeper there, Matt Turner. U23, super rare goalkeeper that might turn good now, and Thomas Hassel. And then from there, as you can see, I've really kicked on. And that time as well, what you won't see here is I also bought Odysseus, who I sold on for like incredible profits. Same with Garbage, same with Van Dijk, same with Diego Costa. There was a lot of great guys that came in this window when the market was hesitating. I just managed to execute a lot of clear strategies I already had laid out and was prepared to push the button on. And subsequently, made my club a lot stronger. I could sell more things into the market. I could win more prizes as a result. And all this is still 6 months ago. This is January. So we're getting Frankie Amaya. And is it August yet? Yeah, 10th of August. So really from the Machida that you've seen back there to maybe Kevin Trapp. When did he come into the club? 18th of July. Yeah, so Trapp was probably one of the last ones, maybe with John McCarthy. I won that John McCarthy. So yeah, from Trapp, Legit, Ronald Hernandez, a lot of these guys are wins, of course, but Grand Seer, Werner, Kevin Cabral, U23 striker, Denier, big guy on my hit list. I just went and actioned a lot of stuff that I just knew I would be satisfied to have for the next 12 to 18 months in my club, because ETH can go up, ETH can go down, but I'm still going to have these super rares. I'm still going to be able to compete in this level, and that's what it was always about for me. The thing I didn't want to miss out on was the opportunity for me to have ammunition to go into the market and trade. Now, I'm not a big trader. I don't like doing a lot of speculating on anything, really. I like to get things that I know. I can speculate on something that I believe, right? But I don't like just widely speculating on just, oh, this guy's got a transfer rumor, or this guy's injured and will come back fit one day and he'll be worth more money, or that kind of thing. I like to have a wee bit more something in it. So I made sure throughout that time when I had Ethereum that I felt had more weight in the market than it should be carrying, to go and get things that I could sell later on for if no matter what the circumstances happened, SoRare expanded or Ethereum went back up, whatever, I could take advantage of in the market in 6 months from then, 9 months from then, because a lot of the stuff I'd done back in like June and July, as you'll see if you look at my SoRare graph. So this is my roster valuation in ETH. So as the ETH is going down in terms of the value, because at that point we're in that kind of bear market that I just showed you on the last screen, we're about 48 ETH, and then by the kind of end of it, which is like mid-July, through buying and selling and whatever, we got up to about 45, 46 ETH. So that's an increase of like, what, 20% or so, in which time ETH is maybe halved in price. And as you'll be able to see throughout the same time, I was quite aggressive in getting my cards up, you know. So at the end of May, beginning of June, we had 145 cards, mainly super rare increases, as you've just seen. We get ourselves up to that 162, 165 mark. So I've increased my card count by about 10% in that time as well. And from there, ETH has only really gone up in a real bull market from like end of June, you know, beginning of August up until Christmas really. And despite it going on such a bull run, my gallery value didn't do any massive movements. The main reason for that is I was selling guys I'd previously bought in different situations into the market as the bull market was returning. Now, will the bull market ever return? Who knows? Let's just say it never returns. These situations are down to as much SoRare related as it is Ethereum related, because as soon as that bear market, the bull market, sorry, kind of comes back around in the beginning of August, SoRare itself goes on a massive bull run, you know, and goes from where we see it there at the beginning of August, how many users we have, let's just say about 20,000 or so, all the way up now to 85,000. So that's going about 4x at the same time. Like I say, guys, good players are always going to be worth something in the SoRare market as long as they're good at football and they can help you win prizes. And that those clear laid out strategies that are made immune to these external circumstances are always going to be the ones that serve you best going forward. Unfortunately, when your motivation is just profiteering tomorrow versus today, these big swings, these big situations will rock your world and totally change your outlook and your total strategy on everything. So like I was explaining on a video recently, you've got to break everything into two pots, 80-20. 80% is what you're good at, and 20% is maybe what you think is a bit safer or a little bit less riskier or something that you're not as prolific in, you know, because diversification in strategy and having these kind of fire escapes laid out. If ETH does crash in 50%, what would I do? If ETH doubled in price, what would I do? Because a bull market can be just as weird and just as kind of oddly scary in the SoRare market as a bear market can as well. So if you haven't done these things before, then it's definitely something I recommend you explore. What's a great bit of advice from me, to be honest with you, is you can easily check this Ethereum graph. You can easily check my graphs on SoRare data, and you can easily check my content all on the same days and times and see what was getting said and see what the vibes were and what the kind of consensus was in the market, what was a smart play and what was a bad play. Now, these are really important things you need to consider in times like this, especially if you are newer to the game, is what exposure to Ethereum do you really have? As I was explaining earlier on, as I was touching on, Ethereum and SoRare have got this really weird relationship where SoRare is really just in Ethereum for the NFT technology. It's not that it wants it to be the next, you know, currency of the world or anything like that. It's the NFT tech. That's what SoRare's after, you know. So you accruing an Ethereum exposure because you play SoRare is, you know, unavoidable, right? But would you have held ETH? Would you have wanted to get a couple of ETH in your back pocket to have Ethereum for having Ethereum's sake? If the answer is no, then you really shouldn't hold Ethereum much longer than you need to. Your Ethereum should be quickly getting transferred into cards and into fiat. And you shouldn't really let it be gathering dust. If you do want to get exposure to Ethereum through SoRare, different story. Acquiring ETH through Ramp or Coinbase or any of these things just to get cards, if that's the only purpose, you don't want to hold ETH and you're not worried about, oh, if I can't get a card, I'll just sit on the ETH because I'm happy to have ETH anyway, then you have a time bomb. You know, as soon as you buy that ETH, as soon as you deposit it, for better or for worse, you know, ETH could pop off and double in price, and that coin you've got is now a lot more powerful going into the market. But equally, the opposite could happen, like you've kind of seen over the last month or so, certainly. So it's important to understand that as well, that when you are, if you do not want an ETH exposure, if you weren't exposed to ETH anyway, if having exposure to ETH does not interest or motivate you, then it's really important you don't let your ETH gather dust in your wallet. You know, you either keep it in pounds in your bank until you're ready to spend it on a card or something, or when you sell something, you can withdraw to your wallet, your external wallet, whether it be MetaMask or Coinbase or whatever, very easily on SoRare at any time you want. I've got a great video on how to do it as well. It's a link in the description of this one. You want to check it out. And maybe small frequent withdrawals, if that's not something you've practiced, is definitely something you should consider if Ethereum exposure is not something that motivates you or is now maybe scaring you, and you now going forward want to kind of learn from this.